And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Club Jaguar on draft day eve. Lots of fun stuff coming up here on today's Intangibly Rich live stream for you guys. We, of course, have the regular crew in here. We have Jordan DeLugo to my, I guess, on screen to my left. What's up, Jordan?
Yo. Fired up for tomorrow night. Hopefully the Magic can get a dub tonight. We're recording or going live here at halftime of Magic Celtics. So y'all know I love you. I'm here during the Magic game.
That's big.
Magic playoff game. Okay.
Yeah. Got your Magic merch on and everything, looking good. And over to my right, I have the brother of the year, Jaguars United. What's up, Jason?
Not much. I'm glad that we were able to get my contract holdout figured out so I could be back on the show. I know it was a bitter contract dispute, but we got it. So glad to be back.
I mean, I just appreciate you still being in communication with us. You still stay in the group chat, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I'm loyal to the team that drafted me. What can I say?
Exactly. But yeah, guys, we have a loaded show
that much these days, man.
Exactly.
Love to see it.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys are here today, man, on a loaded show because, guys, it's draft day eve. And, of course, this time last week doing a show with Jordan, it was like, oh, yeah, Mason Graham, it sounds like, we'll see if they do anything surprising. But this last week, it's like smoke screen, the Jaguars want to take Genty. Now we're getting reports that the Jaguars want to move up to 2. We're also getting word that the Jaguars really don't want to stay at number 5. The Jaguars might be interested in Kelvin Banks. So all this crazy stuff going on. I'll go ahead and start with Jason since we didn't hear from you much last week. What are you kind of taking from all this? Are you buying the smoke that the Jaguars might want to take Ashton Genty? Or I guess where's your head at with all this?
I think this is the time of year when all the smoke screens go up, right? So anything we're hearing in the last couple of days, I'm just ignoring. I know it's fun to talk about and it's fun to get into it, but this is every year when the smoke screens go out, when false information gets leaked. So I'm not buying too much into it unless a video surfaces of Mason Graham hitting a bong right before the draft. I think a lot of the guys that are the Jags are slated to pick, they probably will.
So, I mean, this time last week, do you think the Jaguars are going to pick the same player like today as you thought maybe this time last week?
I think their board is exactly the same. I don't know who the player is going to be, but I bet you their 1 through 5 is still their 1 through 5. Sure, you're going to hold out for if some team falls in love with a quarterback or maybe even falls in love with Genty is what we're seeing a little bit today, and they move up and they give you a king's ransom, but they have their big board. They're open to trades if something blows them away, just like every other team that's drafting tomorrow.
So what about you, Jordan? I know we were on the show last week. We were kind of talking Mason Graham. Has your opinion changed about what the Jaguars may do?
Well, it just seems like it's wide open at this point. I still think, based on my evaluation and based on what I've seen James Gladstone and the Rams do, that Mason Graham is among the most likely selections for them. I think that, as Jason said, this is smokescreen season. It absolutely is. I don't think anything about the Jaguars board has changed, and we're not privy to the Jaguars board. So maybe Mason Graham was never that high on their board. Maybe he is. We don't know, right? But what has changed is there's more communication between teams right now than there was a week or two ago. And there's more communication between teams and a lot of media folks right now. So that's why you're hearing so much of this scuttlebutt going on. Media folks are rapidly just trying to get information, putting anything they can get out there and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the Jaguars are now being linked to everybody. I mean, of course, we were always linked to Mason Graham, and then now obviously there's an Ashton Genty push. There's talk that the Jaguars want to go offense. They want Ted McMillan. There's Kelvin Banks if they like offensive linemen. I mean, is this something that you think that the James Gladstone is trying to put out there just to confuse teams and maybe get people a little bit frantic about potentially wanting to move up with the Jaguars? Or what do you think's going on with all these rumors this past week?
I think they're trying to explore every single option available to them and see what they like the best, right? I think that's very clearly what's happening. And I also think they're just putting out as much information from different people within the building as they possibly can to confuse. Look, we know James Gladstone values the secrecy of the draft, the competitive advantage he thinks that can give him. That's why they don't do 30 visits. That's why they don't talk to a lot of the players directly. And I think that this kind of the Jags are interested in everyone and every possibility is somewhat true, but it's also somewhat due to the Jags just trying to not reveal their hand.
Yeah. So I guess Jason, like, who are you? Because I know for myself, like I was kind of all aboard the Mason Graham train, but I know this last week, and this is probably the fan of me, I've kind of been convinced that, hey, like Ashton Genty might be the move if you stick at 5. And I think the reason for that is like the Jaguars right now, they have a bunch of needs, right? Obviously, wide receiver is a need. Defensive line is a need. A safety is a need. But you know what's probably the most overwhelming need for the Jaguars is superstar. You know what I mean? And I don't really care what position that comes at. And, you know, we're talking about Ashton Genty amongst the likes of like, you know, is he better than Bijan Robinson? Is he better than Saquon Barkley? Like you're kind of comparing him to some of the top running backs in each of these last drafts. And when you talk about Mason Graham, you're not really talking about him amongst the names like Aaron Donald, amongst the names like even Quentin Williams. Like when you're looking at Mason Graham, you're saying, okay, we can get a really good defensive lineman at a maybe premier position. I don't know if defensive tackle is considered premier, but yeah,
it
premier.
Is.
I know people talk cornerback, edge, left tackle, wide receiver as premier, but yeah, defensive tackle at premier. Or would you rather, instead of getting a really good guy, would you rather get a complete superstar at a position that might be getting devalued a little bit? And I know for me, I would love to sit here and say week 1, we're going to have Brian Thomas Jr. as our wide receiver 1, Ashton Genty as our running back 1. And I mean, that's how I'm kind of looking at this whole equation. And I don't know, like, Jason, how are you feeling about what you want the Jaguars to potentially do at pick number 5?
I want them to take the best available player. It would be, I know it's an easy answer to say. To me, Mason Graham doesn't seem like he's the best available player. Seems like he's the best player at a need that we have at a position we value. Like, yes, D tackle can be a premier position, but I don't see Mason Graham being a premier D tackle. He could be. I mean, if you talk to Michigan fans, obviously they all love him. Talk to everyone else, they're like, yeah, he's good. And so I don't know. I mean, I really like Ashton Genty a lot. I've been big on Ashton Genty before it was cool. But I mean, Will Campbell, another guy that I would love to have on this team. I've talked on our show a couple weeks ago. I'm a big Tyler Warren fan. I think you input any of those guys into the roster, like you said, and I know, and I say this all the time, and the comments always get me, like, you can't draft a tight end that high. You can't draft a running back that high. Okay, that's fine. We don't usually do that, and it never works out for us either. So, like, I don't know if there's a formula that we could kind of stick to where we can say it's not worth it. It's not going to value. Even if like Ted McMillan is really high on their board, to say that you're not going to take him at 5, but you'll take him at 8 or 9 is just ludicrous to me. Like, if he's good enough to help your team, take him anywhere. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, you could try to stack some picks later to move back, but maybe you couldn't, and you miss out on a guy you like. So it's hard to know what they're going to do. I want the best available player. Do I know who that's going to be? No. And NFL GMs don't know who it's going to be either. Okay. So, like, I'm sorry, but like, it's a crapshoot. So I want them to take the best player. If Will Campbell's there, I'd take him. If Genty's there, I'd take him. Warren's there, I'd take him. And then I would take Mason Graham.
So, I mean, Jordan, what do you have to say to all that?
Yeah, I think that, we've talked about Ashton Genty to the Jaguars months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason's always been on board with that. I've always said I would love to see it. I love Ashton Genty's game. I do compare him favorably to Bijan Robinson. I think he has a more complete overall skill set. I don't know if I would do it because I do personally have Mason Graham as a top 5 prospect in this class. And I do think he's going to be a top 10 defensive tackle. And there just feels like there's more risk involved not even with the player being a good prospect at the running back position, just due to like injuries, contract, like all the different things that stack against running backs and longevity compared to a Mason Graham, who I feel like at worst is going to be a top 10 defensive tackle in the league, and at best could probably be top 5. So that's why I kind of lean that direction. But even though I lean that direction, I would love to see Ashton Genty in Jacksonville. I think there's more than one really good option for the Jaguars in this situation. And that's a thing that I think a lot of people are losing sight of. Like, everybody talks about, oh, it's horrible to be in the 5 to 12 range in this draft. I don't think that's true at all. I think that they're in a great spot right now because they're going to probably have Ashton Genty available to them. They're going to have Mason Graham available to them in all likelihood. They're going to have a lot of high quality prospects and some people that are getting overthought right now. I think Will Johnson has been overthought. I think Malachi Starks has been overthought. I think Tyler Warren, to your point, he's the number 5 guy on my board. I love Tyler Warren as well. So I think the Jaguars are in a great spot. And I also think, the trade up rumors, if they want to go get themselves Travis Hunter and they can pull that off, I'm here for it. If they want to trade down and have more throws at the dartboard because the draft is such a crapshoot, I'm here for that too. I think they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, and I think number one, if I were to like kind of powering to 3 things that I'd want, number 1, I'd want to move up. Number 2, I'd want to move down, and number 3, I'd want to stick at 5. To be completely honest with you, it's crazy because I think to move up from number 5 to number 2, it's going to be very, very expensive, and I don't know if it's going to be as much as a first round pick, but it might be 2 seconds and a third, and maybe even some more day 3. And I can't help but feel like if you move back from number 5 to number 10, you might only net like a day 2 pick and maybe a day. It's impossible to know exactly what the value is at because it almost feels like the Jaguars in some respect want to, move back, see who falls in their lap, and then later on, kind of use some draft capital to trade up because you could potentially move back and get a Kellen Banks Jr. and then move back up in the first round and get a Luther Burden. And then you're actually looking, pretty nice, but it's impossible to really tell what's going to happen. But I know for myself, I would love it if the Jaguars were somehow able to move up and get a Travis Hunter because I think that you're getting an elite wide receiver prospect. I'd love to see how they kind of work him in at cornerback, what kind of packages he gets. I just think that he would be an awesome addition to this team at a position that is automatically of need because the way I look at it, I think the Jaguars, like, they absolutely need day 1. I think they need another wide receiver, and I think they need an edge 3. I think those are the 2 positions that you need immediate contributions from. And of course, there's a lot of other needs. You need interior offensive line so you can build for the future. You need another safety. I mean, you have, I think, your starters day 1. You may not like them that much, but it feels like you can kind of go onto the field with what you have at safety. You need to keep building the defensive line on the interior. But overall, like, you can move up, get a Travis Hunter, and maybe you're still left with a day 2 pick. Like, I don't know, Jason, do you have any idea what you would give up potentially to trade for number 5 to number 2 if you're the Jaguars GM?
I think you're spot on. I think that's just I mean, if you look at the value of those picks, like picks 1 through 3 are just worth so much more than every other pick. And so you are going to have to give up a lot more draft capital to move up for a guy who we all love, but like is still an unknown. It's not like you're trading up for like a quarterback of the future. You know what I mean? So I would just be a team could offer more than us to move up and try to get Shedeur Sanders for all we know. Like we don't really know. So, I mean, it would take a lot, like you said, maybe not, a first pick, but, it would take some seconds and some thirds. But I kind of want to ask both of you, like, so we haven't talked a lot about Will Campbell, which is fine. If Will Campbell and Mason Graham are both there, you guys would rather have Mason Graham?
I just don't think that the Patriots are passing up on Will Campbell. So it's almost like something I don't even think about, to be honest with you.
I feel the same way. I do think the Patriots are going to take Will Campbell. I've thought that for months and months and months before the draft order was even set. Like, they got to address that offensive line. He's my number 7 prospect. So he's right there in that mix. I have Mason Graham rated slightly higher than him. I think part of that, honestly, is just the fact that I've seen Mason Graham play the position I expect him to play the NFL. I have not seen Will Campbell play the spot that I think he would play for the Jaguars in 2025, right? So there's a little bit more of a question mark there, but I think Will Campbell is the best offensive lineman in this class.
I mean, I just, I mean, not to cut you off, Dalton, but I mean, I see a scenario where someone trades up for a quarterback, probably Shedeur Sanders. I mean, there's a lot to like about him. So I could see it. And then we're in a position where maybe, Will Campbell does fall to 5. And then we have a pretty big decision to make, I think.
And it's tricky for me because because we need to have a really good offensive line, obviously, but not only do I want to win the AFC South, but I want to win the AFC. I want to go to the Super Bowl. And when has Patrick Mahomes lost his Super Bowls? It's been when he's been absolute hell against the Buccaneers and against the Eagles, right? Where they're getting all kinds of pressure on him. They can't touch him. And then, this is a team that the Bills can't
think about
beat.
Those two teams' offensive lines too.
Yeah. I mean,
they had good offensive lines too.
I mean, we got to build the trenches, right? You got to build the trenches. And right now it is tough because I think every year, we kind of find ourselves sometimes overlooking the O-line at this time of year, but every year our offensive line is not good enough. Right. And I don't know, how many building blocks do the Jaguars actually have on the offensive line? I mean, I think Anton Harrison could be one. I mean, I'm really curious to see Walker Little this year because I don't think he's ever really been given a true opportunity to really flourish in his natural role. It feels like they keep putting him in these impossible positional battles against guys that are pretty much already have the job, and they move him over to guard, which he's not a guard. I'm curious to see how he does, but it just feels like a lot of these guys, I mean, left guard Ezra Cleveland replaceable, Robert Hainsey is going to be replaceable, Makari, we don't have any real superstars. And I know one thing that Liam Cohen does is he creates holes through misdirection and stuff like that, and I think that'll help us in the run game. But yeah, you gotta keep building the trenches, and you're getting a running back right now when a lot of people feel like the offensive line when it comes to, you kind of compare it to Saquon Barkley, our offensive line probably looks a lot more like the Giants than they do the Eagles, right? So is it smart to even get this guy right now?
I'll say this. Will Campbell, if he's the pick at 5, I'm excited about it. I love his game. I think that he is so strong throughout his frame. He plays so balanced, just squared up. He very rarely gets out of position. When he does, he has a good ability to recover, great anchor. I think he is a leader. I think he's going to be a pillar of whatever team he lands with. So if Will Campbell is the pick, I'm excited about it. I just have Mason Graham slightly higher than him.
Yeah. So do want to go a quick shout out before we start moving on. I want to say that, guys, tomorrow we are going to be live on location. We're 18 minutes into the show and I haven't even mentioned it. I have the graphic up, but we're going to be live on location tomorrow at Bottlenose Brewing. I have the start time for 7:30. We'll probably start a live stream at 7:45, but come over whenever. We're going to be live for the entire first round of the draft. Me, Jordan, and Jason will all be there. And we're going to have a 4th mic. So if you guys come through, grab a mic, talk with us, be on the show, spew your Jags takes. We're going to give you guys time. We're not 10 to XL. We're not going to let you say your thing, get off the air, then we'll talk shit about your take. No, we're going to be able to sit there.
Wait, that's what I thought we were doing.
No, but we're going to let you sit there. We're going to talk with you guys. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. And I believe Jason, you're going to comp some drinks tomorrow night, I hear.
Yeah, I think the first 20 people get a drink. Yeah. So you gotta say you're with Club Jaguar. You can't just show up and drink 20 drinks. You gotta say you're with Club Jaguar.
Yeah, you gotta be Club Jaguar. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited for tomorrow.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm fired up. It's gonna be awesome doing the show live on location, having a good time, being able to interact with fans. Doesn't get better than this. And this is, a lot of people have been saying it around the league, like the most unpredictable first round in a long, long time. And that holds true in Jacksonville. I mean, I can't remember the last time there was this many different prospects. Everybody was, talking about potentially being the Jaguars pick, the trading up, the trading down, all that stuff. It's going to be wild.
Yeah. Uh-oh,
Hopefully-
Swarm, that one guy. Swarm. He's gonna bring a flask. Swarm.
Hopefully it's like a Tyson Alu situation where we've never heard of the player. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Or Taven Bryan. Taven, any
At
Florida
least we had heard of Taven Bryan.
any Florida defensive tackles coming out?
Yeah, there are.
That was fun. But so yeah, guys, join us tomorrow, man. We really hope to see you guys there. I haven't been to Jacksonville in a minute. Us three have never been together in the same room before, which will be fun. And yeah, I mean, tomorrow, like I said, a lot of people are saying that the draft starts with the Jaguars, right? Whether the Jaguars move up, whether the Jaguars stay at 5. A lot of the top 4 picks, if it stays as is kind of chalky. And then the Jaguars are going to kind of set the tone for the draft. So I'm excited. I want to see what these smoke screens amount to. It feels like Liam Cohen is doing a lot of tricky stuff behind the scenes to spark up some stuff. I feel like the Jaguars have, in the best way possible, an absolute lunatic as a GM. It feels like that to me. So
no telling what's going to happen. I'm like, I don't know, something like I just also can't shake either. And I think we might have talked about this a long time ago, but like, I feel like Liam Cohen's like always had more than 2 good wide receivers. So either he believes in this roster we have now, or he's going to be a lot more active at wide receiver than we're thinking. I don't know.
Well, I've always said, since free agency, I think they're taking a wide receiver in the first 3 picks.
You think they have to, right? Do you really want to go out there with either De'Ami Brown or Parker Washington as your second best wide receiver? I think that's a terrible spot to be.
Like, if De'Ami Brown is your second best wide receiver, there's a chance that's okay. A chance. I'm not saying that's a good chance, but there's a chance that's okay. But you only signed him for 1 year. You've got to get somebody in here to build, to develop.
I don't know why I would have rather signed him to a 2-year deal. I think it's kind of weird with a guy with, because they signed Evan Ingram to a 1-year deal, right? And they had to turn around and give him a bunch of money after that. So
and doing it at tight end is different than doing it at receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe he didn't want to take a 2-year deal. Maybe he wanted to gamble on himself a little bit. But who knows? A couple of super chats here. We have Jim Jag. He says, Liam said during his, quote, first Duval event that he wanted to, quote, light up the board on offense with the 5th draft pick. I wasn't there. I think he said something like that. I don't know the exact quote, but I don't think he went out there and blatantly said that he's picking offense at number 5, did he?
I think he was asked what like, I think one of the fans like, what are you doing with the 5th pick? And he didn't really give an answer, but he kind of alluded to, we want to light up the scoreboard on offense. So I don't think that that's a definitive statement either way. I think if you think that, maybe you need to settle down just a little bit.
He's probably like, yeah, man, we just want to get a good player in here. We want to be able to build our culture the way we want to build it. And it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Me and Tony. But yeah,
that's a good impression.
Thank you. It just feel, I don't know. I like our, I love Liam Cohen. I love James Gladstone, but sometimes it feels like we're at like all these press conferences is like we're at a job retreat or something, like a work retreat, the way it's so kumbaya and all this interesting positivity. I don't know, but I'm all here for it because I don't like what we had with Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, all that fakeness in the building, right?
I get more multi-level marketing seminar vibes, but maybe that's just me.
That's good too.
Yeah,
that's good too.
I can see that.
Sometimes I'll hear like James Gladstone speak in press conferences, and like a lot of times I listen to these press conferences as like background noise as I do other stuff, and I'll be like, "Crap, I missed what Gladstone said," and I like rewind it, and I'm like, "Oh, he just talked for like 90 seconds about like nothing." Like he just like talked in a circle and really didn't get anywhere. It's like I always think that he talks like he's trying to hit like the minimum word count of an essay, which I mean, it's fine. You're the GM, you can't really like you can't really say too much, especially in this part. I mean, we're going to get a lot more out of him, I think, once after the draft when he's talking about players. And even when like in-draft videos come out where we kind of see the maybe different movement the Jaguars make, because it feels like we're probably going to get a lot of cool behind-the-scenes action of this draft as opposed to what we've been getting. But I'm pretty excited for that. Be New with a $2 question says, how does Mason Smith compare to Mason Graham? I'll let talent evaluator Jordan DeLugo answer that one.
I think he is a much more refined player, much more technically sound player. I think he's somebody who at the collegiate level didn't deal with a torn ACL that kind of derailed his career. And when a lot of people just kind of watch what happened with Mason Graham in 2024, and he was very good in 2024. There's no question about it, but he was dealing with injury. If you watch him in 2023 as a 19-year-old and what he did game in and game out, I mean, he was utterly dominant. The only interior defensive lineman that had a better pass rush win rate than Mason Graham in 2023 was Byron Murphy. And we all saw how high he went to the Seattle Seahawks. So this is a guy, Mason Graham, to me, that projects as much more of a complete overall player, much less of a project, much less of a question mark. Now, if Mason Smith reaches his physical potential, absolutely. But I think that there is so much more refinement that you are bringing into your building with a Mason Graham. And I think they could play together. And I think they could be potentially really difficult duo to deal with for a long time in the NFL.
Interesting. Yeah. And I feel like you're getting two different players. That's one reason why they complement each other so well. And that's why, it's interesting because do you think, because the Jaguars need another edge rusher? And I really wonder if the Giants do take Abdul Carter, if Thibodeau is kind of up for grabs, do you think that the Jaguars should try to trade potentially a 4th round pick at them to try to get Thibodeau over on our side?
It'd be really interesting to see what they think about Thibodeau's intangibly richness. I would love to know what they think about him. But I don't know if he would be willing to be an edge 3. I don't know, man. That's an interesting one. I just think from like a talent perspective, sure. If you're bringing him here to be a designated pass rusher, I'm all on board for it. But I think there's more than just the talent and production equation.
Interesting. Yeah, that's we always got to bring in the intangibly rich factor when we talk about these Jaguar players. Eric asked, I'd personally like Genty and let James Gladstone get bargains at other positions. And yeah, that's one thing that like I keep looking at this draft and I'm like, okay, the Jaguars have 4 picks they got to hit, right? 1st round pick, 2nd round pick, 2/3. But I always forget we had these day 3 picks that we're allowed to hit on, right? And we have 2 4th round picks, one at the top of the 4th round. So the Jaguars, man, if we can finally start grabbing some like good day 3 prospects as opposed to getting excited for getting core 4 special teamers like Daniel Thomas and stuff, and like we need to. Good teams start hitting on day 3 picks, right? Good teams can find diamonds in the rough where, boom, you found a starting guard on day 3. You found a starting corner on day 3. And you just found a good safety on stuff like that where you can find players out there so you're not breaking the bank or spending early draft capital at these spots. And I think that's probably been the biggest downfall of Trent Baalke. Decent on day 1, always reaching on day 2, never finding anybody on day 3. I think that's kind of what it goes down to for him.
Yeah, I think it's well said. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, simply from like a draft perspective, like when you evaluate his drafts, there's no question about that.
Yeah. And then obviously the whole disconnect going on with him and the coaches. But we moved on. We no longer have that. So, yeah, I guess with the Jaguars, do you guys think that the Jaguars, do you think the Jaguars are more likely to stay at number 5? Or do you think the Jaguars tomorrow night are not picking at number 5? Me personally, I really feel like the Jaguars aren't picking at 5. Like me personally, my gut really tells me that the Jaguars are going to try to trade up for Travis Hunter and get him. I don't know where you guys are at on a potential trade up or if you guys think that's going on.
I think the most likely scenario is that they pick at 5 simply because it takes 2 to tango. And I think to trade up for Travis Hunter, you're having to pay more than the value chart says you have to pay because the Browns are happy to take him, right? To trade down from 5, you're having to accept a lesser trade because the teams that want to potentially trade up know that they don't have to move up. Like that, this is not a draft where I think teams feel like they have to move up to 5 because most teams, most talent evaluators don't think that there's 5 blue chip prospects. They think that there's 2, maybe 3. So I think they're in a challenging situation to try to trade, but it only takes one team to be willing to trade with you. right? So it is possible. I just think most likely scenario is that they pick at 5.
Interesting. What about you, Jason?
Yeah, because the only person that I could see them wanting to trade up for would be Travis Hunter. And that just seems like a big risk. As much, like I said, I love him, but it's a risk. And like, are you going to give up a bunch of draft capital for a guy who could not be it? And like I said earlier, he's not really looked at as a sure thing like a lot of other people have been in the past. I do think trading down is a little bit more realistic because of the way the board is falling with quarterbacks, and there still are a good amount of teams that need quarterbacks. Like, does Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Jackson Dart all somehow go in the top 5? Like, if that happened, we would be like, oh, didn't see that happening, but it was 3 quarterbacks. It makes sense. So, like, I feel
I'm
like
here for it.
Yeah, and so
I'm
it's
here
like
for it.
Until we see how everything unfolds. I mean, this is a hard draft to guess. Definitely one of the harder ones I can remember in the past. So one of those wait and see type situations. I think I would rather trade down than trade up, but just because, as a team that needs to raise the floor, we could use some more picks in the first round.
But also, when you look at the Browns, I think they're in a peculiar spot where, like, they've obviously took a big swing and a big miss on Deshaun Watson. They haven't had a first-round pick in, like, the last, 3 years. I wonder if they're in a situation where, like, right now, I mean, if they stick at 2, they absolutely had to take a Travis Hunter. But would they rather actually trade back to 5, get a few picks from the Jaguars, extra picks to help build their team, and then they can go out and get maybe a Shedeur Sanders without feeling like they're reaching at number 2? Because I don't see how they can come away from this draft without a quarterback. And I don't know if they can sit here and wait all the way to the second round and try to potentially use draft capital later on to move back up to get a quarterback, because I think it's a dangerous game, especially if, Shedeur Sanders goes, maybe somehow the Raiders surprise everyone. They take him, and all of a sudden they're like, crap, all we have is
the Geno Smith Raiders.
You never know, man. I mean, last year, what did the Falcons do? They paid Kirk Cousins a lot of money and they drafted Michael Penix. You never know. These teams, these teams can trick you, and I don't think
that was as much as you can use that as an example. That was much more of an exception than a rule, right? That was the exception to the rule.
Excuse me. Have you never seen Draft Day with Kevin Costner? You apparently don't know how the draft works, okay? Because that's how it works.
Yeah. I don't think that you can expect to see that very often.
But just saying, I mean, we're always surprised by stuff on draft day, right? I mean, last year, 6 quarterbacks went in the top 12, right? Teams are desperate to get quarterbacks, and
I think that's fair to say as well. But look, evaluating those quarterbacks, at the very least, 3 of those quarterbacks belonged in the top 5, and that's where they went. I think that most talent evaluators have Cam Ward closer to the category of Penix, Nix, and McCarthy than they do the top 3 from last year. So I wouldn't use what happened last year as the basis for what's going to happen this year.
Well, okay. How about the Jets take, for sake of the argument, the Jets take Shedeur Sanders? I don't know. I'm just saying
it's more possible.
One of these quarterbacks might take a guy, and then all of a sudden the Browns sitting there all the way in the second round is like, oh crap! Like, all we have left that we really like is Jackson Dart. Now they have to kind of obviously the asking price is going to be high. I wonder if it's going to be astronomical, because they might just really like him and they say we want 2 firsts, and obviously you're not going to do that. But maybe they're willing to work a little bit more with giving them like 3-day 2 picks, and they rock from there. So I mean, it's impossible to know. We don't know how much they like him. We don't know how much. I mean, I think the Jaguars like them, but the Browns are also in a situation where they're. I don't know. I don't know if I'm expecting much from the Browns coming up, and I think what do they have at quarterback right now?
Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Ooh, star-studded.
I just gosh,
you also have the Saints. The Saints could trade up from 9, take a quarterback. They need one.
So the scuttlebutt coming out of New Orleans is that they don't like Shedeur Sanders and they like Jackson Dart. So again, who knows? There's talk from Cleveland about trading back up into the first round for Shedeur Sanders, landing Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders in this draft. That would be really interesting to see if they could pull that off. We'll see. I think it's very possible, but if we're talking most likely outcome, I do think it's picking at 5 just because it takes 2 to tango, and this is a weird draft to potentially try to trade up or trade down.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess if everything goes, I probably already asked this, I don't know, but everything goes the way we think it will go, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, Jaguars sticking at 5. Who's the pick?
Jordan. I still think it's Mason Graham.
Wow.
But I don't feel great. I don't feel confident in saying that, but I think that based on what they did in free agency, based on their roster, based on what we've seen James Gladstone value in the past, Mason Graham makes a lot of sense. So does Ashton Genty. I would be really surprised if they took Kelvin Banks, like some have talked about. That would shock me. That would be a major shocker.
Yeah. I don't. It's not that I don't want an offensive lineman. I just hate how everybody has different opinions on all these guys, and there's no consensus. It gets me scared. Obviously, you want a high ceiling, but obviously you want a relatively high floor as well. Jason, I'll throw the same question at you. If the draft goes how it's kind of chalked up, who are the Jaguars taking at 5?
I think it's Mason Graham. I hope it's Genty.
Wow, I actually think it's Genty. Honestly, I've been completely turned around by the social media propaganda. You're
not the only one.
I am a simp. I am not a free thinker.
We know.
I'm a sheep. I follow the mass. The whatever everybody else thinks. But I don't know. Just it to me, I think the thing that kind of flipped me over a little bit was like at pick number 5 overall. Do you want to get a elite player or do you want to get a really good player? And I think just from like the consensus, and I'm kind of going off consensus here because I don't think I'm smarter than any of these draft guys out there. It just feels like everybody kind of bookmarks Ashton Genty as this like top guy. But it feels like Mason Graham, there's a lot of difference in opinion about him. And I just don't know. What do the Jaguars feel about him? Like, it's impossible to know. It's just, I don't know. Maybe they try to bring in some electric firepower, but at the same time, we have Tony Maselli in the building, and I know he's always slammed the Jaguars. I would not take a running back in the first round. Does he all of a sudden change his mindset? That's something that I always think about because I don't know, but drafting Genty at 5 is different than ETN at 20-something.
I think bigger than that, Cohen has the fresh recollection of dominating with Bucky Irving, a 4th-round pick. So in his mind,
Gladstone has that with Kyron Williams.
Right. So both of them have in their minds fresh that like we could do this with a late-round pick. We don't need a first-round pick. We can still run the ball effectively with these late-round guys. So I just think that's hard to forget a year removed from a team that had success that did it with a 4th-round pick or later. So that's the only thing that kind of gives me a hiccup.
And they might feel that they can have success with the 2 guys on the roster right now.
Yeah.
Like, they are talented. You were excited. People were excited about this running back room going into last year. All that fell apart. The talent did not leave. They are still talented football players. And this is a deep draft class as well. Right. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and no one really knows how the Jaguars are looking at it right now.
Yeah. It's also interesting because it's a deep running back class, but at the same time, like, you can get good running backs, but like, we already have 2 good running backs, right? I mean, are you getting that much better of a running back in a 4th round than what you already have on the roster right now?
Well, the point that I would make there is that Travis Etienne's going into the final year of his deal. So you're getting somebody to help out now, but really to help out in 2026 in that scenario and beyond.
Yeah. And when you actually look at, so in the last 10 years, running backs drafted in the top 10, you have Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Bijan Robinson. I think it's pretty good company outside of course, we draft the Leonard Fournette of all that. But and we're also in a situation.
I mean, which of those players really turned into superstars, and which one of those teams that drafted those players had great success?
I would say Todd Gurley with the Rams were pretty good for a while.
Yes, and injuries derailed his career, which is a shame.
And
still a great pick, I would say.
And Elliott was, I don't think, a good pick because with us, with them, they were choosing between Elliott and Ramsey, right? And they chose the running back. With the Jaguars, they're picking between Genty and maybe like not a consensus blue chip, right? Christian
Yeah, and I
McCaffrey.
do
Elliott still carried that team for a good amount of time. Like,
Yeah, he was a good football player for sure. That one's a kind of a toss up for me.
But also Christian McCaffrey, I mean, went to the Super Bowl. I mean,
Huge
he was
hit.
an all-purpose guy.
Huge
like
hit.
that. Saquon Barkley
He's
didn't
dealt with
work out.
injuries though too.
Yeah, I mean
And
Saquon
the team that
Barkley,
drafted him didn't get it done.
but also Christian McCaffrey they flipped him and they got a bunch of day 2 picks, right? So they were able to used the first round pick on him, then way later got a bunch more picks for him. So that
How's
one's
that
interesting. Not very good for them, but I think it's because the owner, not the. But then I don't know, Bijan Robinson. I don't know if that's worked out too well yet.
It's too early to say, really. I mean, I think he's been the player that they hoped he would be.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's but that's another situation of like, is the Jaguars roster similar to the Falcons, where was it too early to draft the Bijan Robinson, right? Should they have gone elsewhere? Because I'm not sure if he hasn't obviously gone to the playoffs with them, so I don't know. It's definitely an interesting conversation to have, and you can also go down a list of all the guys found on day 2 and day 3. I mean, running backs are kind of found all over the place. It's just fascinating. It's fascinating. I don't know if I'll be mad by anybody that the Jaguars pick tomorrow. I'll understand Mason Graham. I'll understand Ashton Genty. I'd be a little curious about standing pat and taking maybe an offensive lineman. But
you wouldn't be mad about Shador Sanders being drafted?
Yeah, I'd be a little upset.
We won, baby.
Yeah, that's then we'll
bring Dion to Duval.
Dion to Duval. Oh my god, I would like to get the reaction of the dad trying to no, you trade my son. My son's not playing for the Jaguars. Because whoever drafts Shadur's drafting the dad too, right? And then I think that's been a big knock, is like, and a lot of people maybe don't want Dion down their throat about what to do with their son. But yeah, I mean, is there anybody at number 5 that you guys would be pretty pissed at if we drafted?
Yeah, I would not be happy about Banks.
What about you,
at
Jordan,
all,
or Jason?
I mean, I'm looking through the list right now. I mean, yes, there's a mock draft of the first round. There's a lot of guys. I don't think I'd be thrilled about Will Johnson. That might be a realistic maybe thing I'd be mad about. I wouldn't be thrilled about him.
Why is that?
Just because the things that I've seen, which isn't a ton, struggling with the underneath coverage is the big knock on him. And although, again, for some reason, I don't know how in my life I've accumulated a bunch of Michigan fans as friends. It's kind of annoying, to be honest, but they all speak so highly of him, and they say obviously they're homers, but if you would have asked me about Taven Bryan, I wouldn't have said you were getting a steal. So I guess you can still be like a non-homer, but all Michigan fans are saying this guy's got a home run pick. Jags should get him. A lot of guys, I have a couple buddies that say he going to be better than Mason Graham. So
yeah, and I have him close to that range. I have him at 8.
So I don't know. I just think we do need a corner, because every day that goes by, my belief in Tyson Campbell wades a bit. So I don't know. It would be unless it was some obscure guy that we drafted, like a Tyson Alu situation, where no one knows.
I'm trying to think of like who that could even be.
Yeah, I think back then, like, I don't know if draft was covered as much. So I think back then it was like, who the heck is, and especially everybody was so like Florida Gator glasses about Tebow, they're like Tim, they're like Tyson. We're like, what? And then, yeah, that was, I think that year is the drafts were still on Saturday. I think it was, a little bit different back then, but I don't even know who, like, yeah, I think Will Johnson would be a wild card. I think any of the, like, if they drafted Mimbo, that'd be a wild card, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think cornerback is a move, just because the way the Jaguars roster is kind of constructed. You're paying 2 cornerbacks. You drafted a Jarian Jones, earlier. I think you kind of set yourself up where you don't absolutely need to draft a cornerback on the first 2 days, especially when you're kind of power ranking all the things that you need. I mean, you need to get wide receiver, you need to get your edge, you need to keep building to the defensive line. We don't know what's going on at safety right now. There just seems like a lot of stuff going on where it seemed like maybe a smarter move to maybe not go that route.
Yeah, I'll tell you another one that. So for me, Kelvin Banks, he's on the ground a lot. I like a lot of his high level stuff, but I feel like he is unbalanced. He plays out over his skis, and I don't think he has a great anchor. He's not asked to vertical set like at all. And so there's just holes in that, and it worries me a little bit. I do think some of that's mitigated by moving inside, potentially playing left guard. So he would worry me. I would be also really nervous about Jalen Walker.
Jalen.
I
Oh yeah.
would. And he's somebody who's been connected to them before.
I mean, someone said in the chat, which I've seen this too, a lot of people think the Patriots like him. And that
Yes, I've heard that
that
too.
could be a
And
big shakeup.
so Walker is this guy that everyone is raving about his intangibles. The intangibles, y'all. Right?
Ugh.
And so he's a guy that you've heard that Mike Vrabel really likes a lot. That, if he's intangibly rich, it seems like the Jaguars would like him a lot. And there's a lot enticing about his game, but I worry that he could get lost in the shuffle and not fail, right, as a player, but not live up to being a top 5, top 10 type of pick, because most of the guys in his, let's say, like realm or style of play end up being like good, not great players, like tweener guys between edge and linebacker. They can be very useful. They can be very good. But while some people are like, oh, Micah Parsons, to me, it's more like maybe like Kyle Van Noy or Frankie Louvu or something like this.
Yeah,
right?
I get scared about getting these versatile players on defense, because like you gotta have some kind of home, right? Like are you an off-ball linebacker or are you an edge? Like I just get worried that you're gonna get into the trap of maybe like an Isaiah Simmons, where like you don't, in college they're really intriguing because they play all over the field, they look fast, they're rover and everything, but then they get into the NFL and on defense, I think in the NFL on defense you need a position, right? I think maybe you can switch some stuff up on third down, get some different guys in there to kind of blitz and rush the passer. But I think on your base downs you need a true position. I just get worried with Jalen Walker, whatever his position is. I mean, are you going to draft him at number 5 overall to be your third edge rusher? Are you going to draft him to be an off-ball linebacker? I mean, we already have plenty of that. I mean, I think we're all scarred and we have a lot of PTSD if we hear linebacker on the first 2 days.
Yeah, we're just having an embarrassment of riches at linebacker. I just can't imagine them going that direction. Just how good we are there.
Yeah,
talent.
And Devin Lloyd now has the cursed number 0 now. I mean, if Devin Lloyd doesn't perform this year, can we just retire the number 0?
Hey, Calvin played pretty well.
He had the most underwhelming 1,000-yard season in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, he was up and down for sure, but I mean, I think on a better team that season is remembered a lot differently.
Yeah.
Or if he, catches more balls.
He just,
Yeah,
I think
he dropped a little too much, was not in the right place at the right time all the time, which was it was a problem.
But he wasn't gambling, so we're good.
He did well enough to earn himself like a $24 million bag.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And the Titans weren't the only team in that ballpark.
And shout out to the Titans spending all this money last year instead of going into the rebuild, and now they're sitting here. The Titans only have 2 picks in the first 2 days of the draft.
Good.
Yeah. Good. They traded a pick for Snead. They gave Calvin Ridley money. They should have just reset it last offseason. Now it kind of put them back another year.
They're in a weird spot.
They got Cam Ward now. They're good.
Yeah. But by the way, guys, tomorrow, gonna get another plug. We're gonna be live on location. Club Jaguar, live from Bottlenose Brewing. We're gonna be drinking. We're gonna be having a good time. We're gonna see who the Jaguars select at number 5 overall. Will the Jaguars sit there? Will the Jaguars move around? I have some visuals here. Jaguars trade alert. Trade alert.
Oh.
Wow. Just joking. Fake news. Jaguar selection. We have Jaguars on the clock. Look at these amazing graphics. You guys can all join us live tomorrow. We'll be able to meet you guys. We're also, guys, we have a 4th mic, okay? You guys are going to be able to get on the show, get into the club, and you guys will be a part of Club Jaguar. So I'm excited. Jason's buying drinks. Right, Jason?
That's right. That's right.
First 20 drinks on Jason.
First 20. That's
That'll
it.
be cool.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not made of money, people.
The Club Jaguar revenue ain't coming in that fly. But yeah,
we don't overserve in the Club Jaguar. All right, we serve the right amount.
yeah, you're one beer limit.
Always.
One beer limit. Okay, we gotta be good about that. But yeah,
And 21 and up. 21 and up.
21 and up.
You know,
Yes.
don't come in here with any fake ID looking like you're in high school. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna nix it right away. Okay. Just letting you know.
Jason
You're
will come
gonna
in
get
with the
ID'd at
scissors
the
and cut
bar,
that in half.
bottom
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. You're gonna get ID'd by all of us. I mean, none of us
That's
can with that stuff. None of us have ever had a sip of alcohol under the age of 21.
right.
And we don't condone that at all.
This is a wholesome
No,
club.
as someone who knows all about that sort of thing, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
sniff out. I can sniff it out. You know.
I can tell right away.
Yeah. Jordan and I are parents, you know?
Yeah.
We'll let you know if you're a little suspicious for us. So yeah.
And
Tomorrow,
I have a cat, so I'm right
Yeah, he
there
has a
with
cat.
you guys. Right
has
there
a
with
cat.
That's right.
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Same level of responsibility.
Same responsibility.
Yeah. Same amount of love. I mean, you gotta
Same
give
amount of
them
love.
all a good life. Yeah.
We're all responsible for someone else.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, tomorrow, man, really excited. Really hope you guys can all come out and get to meet some people in person, man. We never done live on location show. We never all been 3 together at one place. So yeah, come over there live for the whole first round. Gonna be a fun draft. And then yeah, it's always funny because like after day 1 of the draft, when it's Saturday, it feels like day 1 was like weeks ago. It always feels so long ago when it comes to the time in between. But yeah, it's always tired. Always at the end of it, I'm tired. But it's always good when the draft is over because you can actually finally kind of look internally at your own team and really figure out what players' roles are going to be and you know where you're going to move going forward.
Start actually watching some film. Seriously, that'll be nice.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and just like figuring out how specific players fit with the Jaguars, because the way I look at it, yeah, I try to look at guys from a Jaguars perspective, but some players I'm just looking at as in a general draft perspective, general NFL. Now you can really focus on how they can be used, not just with the Jaguars, but everybody around the league can focus on how they can be used in their system.
Yeah, no, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Robert says 7:30 is the show, but will you be there earlier? We might be there earlier just to try to set up. Seems like we got a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, we'll be there pretty much the whole day, of course, right? So, well, yeah, it's exciting. Draft day is always a good day. Like, how would you guys power rank the days of the NFL? I know for me, my favorite time of the NFL schedule is like the opening Sunday, right? When the 1 o'clock games start, red zone is on, all that good stuff. And I feel like my second highest thing would be day 1 of the NFL draft. Jordan, how would you power rank these NFL days?
Man, I don't even know if day 1 of the NFL draft is the best day of the draft.
Wow.
Man,
I love day 2,
That's a
man.
hot
And
take.
teams
That's a
are
hot
really
take.
built in day 2. They are. I mean, you have more picks. You have just a lot more. I mean, I know there's a lot of intrigue tomorrow night because there's just like all sorts of crazy rumors flying around. But and especially this year, like I think day 2 of the draft is extremely strong. A lot of folks don't really think there's a lot of true first round picks, but I think like the top 60, 70, 80 prospects in this class are awesome. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I mean, I love the draft. I love I love the Super Bowl, no matter who's playing. I mean, the Super Bowl is always a good time. But yeah, week 1, there's not much like that. Everybody's filled with hope and optimism for the most part. And it's just a fun time to sit down and watch some football, and you haven't been dragged down by your team's lack of success yet.
By Etienne fumbling into the end zone. I feel you.
Hmm.
What about you, Jason? How would you power rank the days in the NFL?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me. Number 1's week 3 of preseason. Number 2 is week 18 when the Jags are out of contention. And number 3 would be the hottest day of the year when the Jaguars have a 1 o'clock game. Hard to beat those 3 days. Hard to beat them.
1 o'clock game. We have a quote advantage against the Green Bay Packers coming down here and playing, and somehow
Wearing black jerseys.
we get our asses whooped again against the Kansas City Chiefs somehow when we had
It's going to get taken away from y'all, and you're going to be sad.
Yeah, I mean, Where am I going to pass
New
out?
stadium.
Hey, we got a roof coming over, man. We got a
right.
roof
Yeah, I
coming
know.
over. It's not getting taken away from us.
Yep.
But
No, that's
yeah,
what
I
I'm
know,
saying. You're
I
not
know-
gonna
That's
have
true.
a heat stroke.
That's true. For me, I really like day 3 of the draft where we're having people making picks from Mars.
Yeah.
They're getting very creative on where people are making picks from. I like the Jaguars making picks from London. Let's go JJ's, and
Yeah.
just trying to see how crazy you can kind of get with it. But
The very beginning of training camp is fun too.
that is fun.
That drags on. There's no question about it, especially when you're out there every day getting your ass burnt. But day 1 of training camp is fun, and then when they get the pads on is fun.
So you just like training camp because you have the most like fire YouTube content during you have another video after every single training camp that you go to. I'm like so tuned into you by that time, and I'm also jealous. You know, I get to go to like
Legit,
one a
that's
year.
the hardest part of the year without question, man. It's so tough though.
Yeah,
It's a
no, it
privilege,
is.
and I'm happy to do it, but it's hot, long days. Got to get back to the studio as fast as possible. Put out all the information I got. Make sure not to get in trouble by saying anything I shouldn't say. But I wouldn't trade it for anything.
You know,
Yeah,
we need like a get ready with me with Jordan on the way to training camp, and we can see his like morning routine. For breakfast on the way
the
driving.
outfit selection.
Yeah, outfit selection. Yeah. That's what we need.
Vlog to
SPF
drive over.
shirts. Waking up with my son at 6 a.m.
We can see your road rage on the way over.
Yeah.
Flicking people off. They cut you off.
It's like I usually use this. This is usually a long lane. I usually cut people off to get to this exit. But yeah, it's
you know, maybe that's an idea we'll visit come training camp time.
I really hope that we do another, because the most fun day was when I went for the Jags Bucks joint practice when they were just scrimmaging the whole time. Man, I hope we host another this year against whoever. I don't want to go to another facility. Like I would think that the Miller Electric Center will be used for joint practices for really years to come, just because that place is just a spectacular venue.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, it can't beat it, really. I mean, you have 4 fields to practice on.
Yeah,
including the indoor.
But we'll take one last question from Tekken Is My World. Random question. Am I the only one who thinks James Gladstone looks like someone who can low-key play Peter Parker in a movie? I'll let Jason answer this one.
I wouldn't have thought of that until you said it, but now that you say it, I could definitely see it. It might be a boring version of Spider-Man, but he definitely could fit the role, I think. So yeah, I like that.
I think he can fit a humanized version of ChatGPT in Black Mirror. I think that's his human role.
Well, sticking on the Spider-Man topic, could you not see a little bit of like the Green Goblin with Willem Dafoe, a little bit in that smile?
Yeah. I like that too.
He does look more like the villain, right?
Yeah.
Like a Marvel villain.
Like started out as a good person and then becomes a villain due to tragic events in life.
Yeah.
Maybe
let's
the
hope
Jaguars.
that's not the case.
Yeah. Hey, let's hope not. Let's hope
we're pulling for him.
Hey, you can't. It's gonna take years of abuse to get any worse than Gene Smith, Dave Caldwell, and Trent Baalke. We'll say that. Okay.
My buddy Josh asked, "What are the chances Travis Hunter falls to 5?" Honestly, man, like 0.
You think?
I think there's 0% chance.
Even if Cleveland does want to take quarterback Shadur Sanders,
I think somebody would trade up for him.
Yeah, if they want Shadur Sanders, they're just going to trade back. They're not going to stick at 2 and do that. That'd be ridiculously stupid at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. I think we have a better chance of us trading up to get him, which I don't think will happen. But
the cool thing is this time tomorrow we'll probably know. If the Jaguars stick at 5, we'll definitely know. And one thing that we won't do, guys, we will not go to commercial before the Jaguars pick.
Oh,
we can promise you
no
that.
commercials on Club Jaguar, baby.
Hot take, but that is not going to happen. Okay, and Jason will not take a piss break before either.
That's a lie. I'll be every 10 minutes you'll see me get up.
but yeah, guys, hey, appreciate all you guys for being here. Hey, do us all a favor, drop a like on the stream. It definitely helps us out. YouTube doesn't want to see that we have all these views, but 7 likes. So help us out and do that. And yeah, we'll hopefully see a lot of you guys tomorrow night at Bottlenose Brewing. If not, then we'll be live here on YouTube as well. So there's a little bit of us for everybody. So tune in. Appreciate all you guys. Go Jags.